Nile claims Iraqi insurgents attack U.S. troops every 15 minutes and that President Bush is misleading Americans about the war. Here is some of what Woodward said in a 60 Minutes interview airing Sunday.
Now, there's public in their news, private. But what do they do with the private? They stamp it secret. No one's supposed to know. Why is that secret? Insurgents know what they're doing. They know the level of violence and how effective they are. Who doesn't know? The American public.
Well, joining me now, Peter Brooks, Senior Fellow in National Security Studies at the Heritage Foundation. Peter served in the Bush administration. And Lawrence Korb, Senior Fellow at the Center for American Progress and former Assistant Secretary, I think there's one too many secretaries in there, of Defense in the Reagan administration. I was reading the prompter, unfortunately. Sorry about that. All right, Peter, let me begin with you. There is a lot in this book, but perhaps the most incendiary is the part where Bob Woodward says the president is misleading the American public. How damning are these charges?
Well, I haven't seen the book, and we're only seeing excerpts, and just like the situation last week with the National Intelligence Estimate, you have to be careful and put this all in context. We'll have to see based on his interviews and the book itself, but I think that's a very, very strong charge. And some of these things, as I saw the excerpts in the New York Times and on MSNBC's website and other places, a lot of it looks to be some stuff pretty old, and as anybody in the book knows that at some point you have to stop writing and send it to the publisher to be published. So I think this stuff goes back. I mean, he's talking about things as late as last fall. I didn't see anything really recent in there. So I'm a little confused at this point.
Lawrence, we can point to one thing. Apparently the book claims the White House is concealing key intelligence that predicts the violence in Iraq will only get worse in the coming year. Would that surprise you if that's true? And in your view, is there a justifiable reason for concealing such information, such predictions?
Well, I don't think there's a justifiable reason for doing that, and it is getting worse. I mean, General Abizaid basically said it's getting worse. That's why he's had to increase the number of troops that we have there. He's extended two of the groups who have finished their year and getting ready to go home. And each year it has gotten worse. So, I mean, I think Peter's right. The book was probably finished last fall. But the fact of the matter is, unfortunately, it's coming true. I mean, this morning you were reporting that, you know, there's a spike again in violence because of Ramadan. There always seems to be a reason for it. But the fact of the matter is it is getting worse because it's not just the insurgency now. You also have a civil war.
Peter, the book also claims Bush has said he will not withdraw from Iraq, quote, even if Laura and Barney are the only ones supporting me. I mean, is that a surprising statement, knowing what we've heard from the president to date?
Well, I guess he's talking about Barney, his dog, not the television character, children's television character. But I think, you know, I don't know under what circumstances that was said. I'm not sure to who it was said. I'm not sure in what sort of tone it was said. But, I mean, I think the president believes that we have to be successful in Iraq. And I believe that as well. And I think we understand, many of us understand the consequences of leaving Iraq before the job is done. So I think, I'm not sure exactly how that was said. That's a very striking statement. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, we have to complete this mission successfully.
Lawrence, I do want to bring in another claim the book makes, that Henry Kissinger is advising Bush, and that is notable because in Woodward's view, he believes Kissinger believes that the problem with Vietnam was that America lost its will to fight, and that might explain what we're seeing from the president. Does this strike you at all?
Well, it sure does, because what happened in Vietnam is the public again was misled by the administration and military leaders about how well things were going. You talk about light at the end of the tunnel and all those things, and when they found out it wasn't true, they decided we had to get out. But the great irony is, as many people have said, including people like the conservative columnist William Buckley, had we not gotten out of Vietnam, we would have lost the Cold War, and unless we get out of Iraq soon, we're not going to win the war on terror.
All right, we certainly appreciate that. Peter Brooks, Lawrence Korb, we appreciate your expert analysis. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the president just wrapped up a speech on the war on terror in Washington.